Utah asked the question, why is DARPA and the Pentagon suppressing so many of the technologies that they developed decades ago? And we know that they do that. Well, it's very simple. There's a lot of reasons, but they want to have the sneak attack capability on the few enemies they've got left. They also like to keep large areas of what's happening secret from the American people. That's why since 1947, the CIA and 14 other intelligence agencies have been able to operate separately from the government and do whatever they want. And now the Federal Reserve can get up on Lair NewsHour in that famous clip from a few years ago with Alan Greenspan and say, we are above the law. Congress can say nothing. They have no jurisdiction over us. What an incredible, arrogant statement. So we haven't been a free country for a very, very long time. They let us gripe and complain down here at the grassroots level, but they have built behind government and corporate reservation walls in their laboratories, in their bunkers, a lot of secret technologies, both nuclear, dealing with fission, communications, weaponry, genetic engineering. I mean, here's an example. A few months ago, the BBC and others came out and said, oh, yes, one company in England with the government's knowledge has made hundreds of human-animal clone splices, but don't worry, we kill them before the embryos grow up to be too big. And this was just kept from the public because it might have upset people. Well, I read the exact same type of articles in 1996. Yes, we cloned humans and spliced them with animals many years ago, but we're just now telling you about it. It's always the same playbooks. I saw a YouTube video last week, I meant to play it here, where it showed Barack Obama side by side at the podium saying the exact words in the exact order of Jimmy Carter. They just changed the date and changed a few little points. And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And it's like, but Jimmy Carter failed. Jimmy Carter was a failure. No, he was a success. He was meant to take the blame for everything that happened. He was meant to be an interim candidate to then bring in Ronald Reagan as the savior. Just like Rick Perry has been prepared and now billed as the next Ronald Reagan. I told you he will run, he'll have a fake pledge, and he's probably going to get Sarah Palin on his ticket later. And I told you he'll be billed as Ronald Reagan. I'm on record 2 years ago, a year ago, 6 months ago, with absolute precision. Now, why is that? A, I have sources. B, I've learned the globalist modus operandi. They do the same stuff over and over again with only slight variations. If something has worked for them before, they will follow a pattern and then use the same script. They know what they're doing. But once you're aware of the playbook, you're like, how dumb am I not to understand that? It's a play. It's a scam. The whole world is a stage, each of us actors upon it, as Shakespeare said. Well, I'm not a actor in their system. I see it, or the amusement park it is. And I'm outside the amusement park. I'm trying to live in the real world. We all look through rose-colored glasses. All of us distort reality from one way or another because we have limited information and can't see over the horizon. But I live in the real world. I read the globalist policy reports that they're so arrogant they put out publicly thinking you're not going to read them. And so they've created these high-tech reservations, and they only dole stuff out generally when it's 30 years old. I mean, my dad remembers being in college in the 60s and CD-ROM and how they were going to have touch screens and how everything was going to work, and then they claimed Bill Gates and all these people come out with it. I've seen countless science fiction movies where you'll see them walking around with what looks like an iPad doing things on it from 30 years ago. That's all predictive programming. They go to Hollywood and they say, put this in your film. You know, they go to a MIT advisor that tells them as a consultant, and they pay him, what should I put in here? Well, this is what's going to be in the future. Just like the CIA went to Fox and said, we want you to put a plane flying into the World Trade Center to be blamed on Afghanistan, but really it's the government doing it, and it's a drill, so they stand down. And then the exact same thing is done 6 months later. They understand your brain only gets shocked by what it's never experienced. How do you domesticate a horse? You get out and you walk around him for a few weeks. You bring him food. You feed him carrots. You train him to let you pet him. And the way ancients did it with pure wild horses is they would then pin the horses, and when a baby was born, they would domesticate that baby and train it, and then they would breed it with other horses that had been domesticated. They would eat. If you dig into any ancient mound, especially the Romans and others, you'll find a lot of horse bones. Horse was actually seen as more tasty by the Romans than even cattle. Beef. And the horses that were spirited, horses that were aggressive, they just ate them. Just like dogs that were not the right shape or size, whatever they were breeding them for, you would just throw them in the river. Break their neck, throw them in the river, put them in a cage, throw them in the river. Or if you were hungry, you'd knock them on the head and roast them. All the European dig sites, they find dog. What do you think Roman legions ate when they ran out of horses? They ate everything, including rats. The Romans carried actually mice in big urns that they fed trash to, and then they would roast mice. But I now digress, and I want to go back to your calls and some other news, but they don't want to roll out the technologies. They want to keep them behind a national security reservation while they grow and develop those systems so that any other country or region or company or individual can't see the technology in action and then try to reverse engineer it. They want to build these systems in secret and then roll them out later if they need them. Does that answer your question, Tim?
Yeah, I worked at Area 52 in Nevada about in the early 90s, and the rumors were that there was Star Trek-type technology that was being suppressed. I think I saw the Aurora in the 70s actually fly over my head one night, but it seems like
Area 51 or 52?
I worked at 52. I was right next to 51. And, of course, there'd be lots of rumors flying around about what was going on at 51. And, like I said, it was Star Trek-type technology, holographic technology, and all kinds of things that they were...
Well, we know they've got that and have been testing it where they can project flying saucers, Buddha, Muhammad, Christ, whatever they want. That much has been admitted. And now we have the New York Times and others calling for a fake alien invasion to unify the world. That's how dumb they think we are. And see, that's a big top media guy, a scriptwriter, telling the rest of the media, get ready for fake alien stuff. So that's definitely... What else did you learn?
Well, and there was, it was during the time when, what was the book, Behold the Pale Horse was out, and all that kind of questionable alien stuff, but I always thought it was just the government creating all that type of thing, the, anti-gravity type stuff, or where I was specifically, we didn't have super high tech. We had, hand geometry readers and that kind of thing, and the stealth fighters were there. But, the big stuff, the really cool stuff was at 51, according to all the rumors. But one thing I've been wondering is there almost a religious reason, I hate to use the word religion, but a religious reason why the control freaks don't bring all this stuff out? Because there's essentially three stages of control freaks. There's the manipulation, intimidation, and then outright force. And it seems like they're almost trying to get us to do what they want us to do without taking it to the limit, just using manipulation, a little bit of intimidation here and there.
Well, that's the thing. Once they started keeping technology secret, when they trot them out, people go, you mean there's a secret government?
Right. I mean, that's the thing. You realize there's something going on underneath it all, but the average Joe just reading the paper or watching TV doesn't understand that's what's going on.
Hey, what was the name of the base? It was Tonopah?
Tonopah Test Range.
Yeah.
Right. And closed down in quote-unquote, closed down in 92. So there's still stuff I'm sure going on.
Well, what did the guys on the base say they'd heard was at 51?
Well, besides the, the flying stuff, and I had seen the flying stuff at night.
Oh, no, that's what I've been told by insiders, is there's nothing alien. They've got Auroras, big troop-carrying, flying Vs, which they now are basically admitting to the public they have, and big projector systems for holograms and bioweapons research underground.
Well, and you could see them flying around at night, and they'd be doing, 90-degree turns, no problem at all. And I saw one night there was 15 or 20 of them out in the air, and they were just shooting around, dancing almost around each other. You
know what? This is too important. I want to hear more about this. Will you do 5 more minutes on the other side, and I'll give you the floor to tell folks these stories?
Sure, no problem.
All right, I'm going to put you on hold because we're going to break, but my dad wished that he'd have brought his telescope, because he's got a little telescope you can hook a digital camera into, and we've gotten incredible footage. The problem is you can track a planet with the computer system. It's hard to track a craft, but I was like, oh, Dad, I want to go to Monument, Utah again, Monument Valley like we did when we were a kid. And he goes, oh, I almost forgot. He spent a week and a half in Montana and Utah visiting friends. He said he would sit outside at night and watch stuff at high altitude, looked like satellite space altitude. You can see satellites in a clear night. He said they were doing 90-degree turns. Looked like they were going 5,000 miles an hour. Okay, Tim in Utah, thanks for holding. Tell us your stories about Area 52 and some of the things you witnessed. Go ahead.
Let me start with saying that I saw the V-shaped UFO back in '76 before I even started working. I was at college doing my astronomy homework, and it flew right overhead. Didn't make a sound. I looked at my friend that was with me, and I was like, did you see that? And he goes, yeah. And I said, I'm glad, because I didn't want to be the only one that saw what happened. And, from there, I always had an interest in UFOs. And then when I went to work at 52, of course, there was lots of rumors. But it's pretty much common knowledge around that area that, on any given night you might see those things flying around. And like I say, one night I was out with my son, and we were south of Area 51. And they were dancing in the sky. It was incredible. I had never seen anything like that, as fast as they were and how they could make turns and stuff. But, most of the stuff I've learned is just from rumors of what other people that have been to 51, had seen.
Well, there's another reason, and I'm glad we're actually fleshing this out, because it's an important subject. It's a core subject, very important. Couldn't be more important. Another reason I've been told by high-level NASA people and others, and I mean high-level, and also some who worked on the Apollo program, and you can see in the films of the Apollo program, on the front line, they're in mission control, is that there's a secret space program, and that's admitted. We just don't know the details, and that the death toll is very high. And so they learned that very quickly watching astronauts burn to death on the launch pad there at the gantry, that we better keep this experimental stuff secret. The guys sign up for it, just like special forces sign up for it, going behind enemy lines. And that's what's going on, is that they're trying to keep the casualty numbers secret.
It's kind of like what you see in the end of Close Encounters, where all those guys come out and Dreyfus wants to join up with them and stuff, because that's stuff that I'm sure isn't, made very public to anyone, the families, or, it was very hush-hush if you worked at 51, what you did, and, who you worked for exactly.
So you worked at a base with the older secret stuff, but, right. but the rumors by the guys on base was the big flying Vs, projection, hologram equipment, anything else?
Right. Star Trek technology, that's all they said. Phasers type stuff, anything you could see off Star Trek, And, of course, there's always been rumors we could fly out to Pluto or something, but I never bought into those particularly. But anyway, before I go, do you mind if I plug my website real quick?
Sure, what is it?
It's controlfreaku.com.
I'll have to check that out. Anything else you forgot to add, Tim?
Oh, I'll think of it later and call back.
All right, buddy. Good to hear from you.